Employees on average who stay more than 2 years at their current employer will make 50% less. Hello, good morning. How you doing today? My name is John Liang, and today we are diving into it with a video on how you can increase your salary. I'm gonna give you 2 methods, and one of them, it's not gonna be exactly what you might think it would be. Now, what I think you should do though is certainly give me one of these as we continue. Probably one of the best ways though to see more money in your piggy bank at the end of the day, just put down the avocado toast. Shh, no one's gonna know. I'm kidding. The avocado toast is not what's keeping you from getting more money into your piggy bank. But what is keeping more money from going into your piggy bank is the fact that your company likely doesn't recognize the amount of effort you put in and is not giving you the raise that you deserve. That's it. On average, companies give about 3% raises year over year. The inflation rate is about 2%. So really you get a 1% raise adjusted for inflation every year. You tell me, how exactly can you afford to buy a home with that raise? How exactly are you sending your kids off to college? Really, how exactly is anyone expected to think that that's okay? With a 1% raise year over year, that's just bonkers. It makes no sense. Obviously, there's some history to it, right? So exactly how do we get here? Well, let's go back to really the turn of the Industrial Revolution. Economic output was booming. And when economic output went up, wages went up. And typically, they were locked pace up until the 1970s. In the 1970s, we saw that middle class wages start to stagnate a little bit, whereas those in the upper tier, that kept growing with the economic output. Now, fast forward from the 1970s to 2007, the last great financial crash. After this crash, a lot of companies closed or went out of business or saw that their revenues significantly declined. And what they did was they started putting on pay freezes. They hired less. And if they did hire, they would bring people in at a lower base salary, which is all understandable. If you're not making a lot of money, who are you gonna be able to pay? But the issue though is they use that as a crutch moving forward. So prior to 2007, it was pretty common actually to see an average salary increase around 5% or so. But after 2007, and using the recession as a bit of an excuse, salary increases averaged to closer around 3%, which is where we are today. So what exactly can you do? Well, the first thing you can do is recognize that 3% is an issue. That's a problem. You go to work, you put in the hours, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 9, whatever it is, you are putting in work for your company, you are producing, you're delivering results, but yet at the end of the day, you're not getting compensated appropriately. That's bonkers. That should not be a thing. So recognize that. It is an issue you need to address. Now, is money everything? Does money buy happiness? That's certainly a large debate to be had. I can say this though, there is a point at which making more money does not make you happier. But I will say, making more money allows you to afford a home, send your kids off to college, and just generally alleviate some of the stress that not having money would put onto you. So with that being said, how can you make more? How do you go ahead and increase your salary? First, negotiate. I have a motto. You don't get what you don't ask for. So just make the ask. And I know negotiating, it's not a conversation we all like to have, right? You might not negotiate on the daily, and so you're not entirely sure where exactly to start. Well, my recommendation is first, do the market research. How much is someone in your title, with your experience, with your background, getting paid? You can use services like Glassdoor.com. You can use a recruiter. Potentially, they might be able to share with you some salary information. Or you could use a site specific to tech jobs called Blind, and people will go ahead and post their salaries on there. So do the research on the market and know how much exactly it is that you're worth. The second thing, I call this building a brag book. What are your accomplishments? What projects have you led? What projects have you contributed to? What were those inputs and what were those outputs? What's the value add? What's the ROI? What did you deliver to your company? And put that together. Now when you go in and have the conversation with your manager, you've got your fair market value. You know how much you are worth to any other company out there. You also have your brag book. You can prove evidence-based, this is what you have contributed to your current employer. Bringing those two together, you then present your manager the option to give you a higher salary. You could also come into the conversation with an offer in the back pocket. say you were talking to recruiters and they were giving you some salary estimations and, you maybe did an interview round and all of a sudden you had an offer on the table. Well, you could bring that offer into the negotiation. Now, keep in mind, if you do use the offer as a leverage point, potentially you might have to exercise that option. But that's okay, because my second point is you could just leave. If after all the negotiations, you've made the case clear, you're an invaluable asset to the company and they're unwilling to pay, then what's the point of sticking around? Sadly, we are all just numbers at the end of the day. That's not the fuzziest thing to say, but we really are, right? As employees, yes, we are the lifeblood to any company, but at the same time, we're an overhead cost. And when a company needs to make more money, they have two options: sell more goods and services, cut costs. Not to say that you're gonna get fired or anything, but when you're asking for more money, there's potential that you're impacting the bottom line. And so that could be some of the reluctancy to meet you where you're at. And if that's the case, then be prepared to leave. Here's an article from Forbes saying that employees on average who stay more than 2 years at their current employer will make 50% less over the course of their working lifespan. And they took that as 10 years. Now, if you work for 20 years, 30 years, that number goes up. So there it is. There's empirical data saying that if you stick around taking your 2-3% raise year over year, you'll make 50% less than someone who's willing to go ahead and make the jumps. Another data point, I myself, in about 3 or so years, tripled my take-home income, making the jump from company to where I am today, and I honestly couldn't be happier. Now, of course, all of this is gonna be a very personal decision for you and your family, but I'm here to say this: if you don't think the 2 to 3% that you're getting year over year is fair, I'm in your corner. I don't think it's fair either. It's ridiculous that that's the type of raise an employee that contributes day in and day out is receiving. And if that's the case and you're looking to make the jump, I'm behind you, 100%. So my ask is simple: really go back and evaluate. Where are you today and where do you think you wanna be a year from now with regard to your salary? Are you okay with the 3% that you're getting year on year? If so, that's totally fine. But if you're thinking, man, I deserve more, I truly give this company my all and they really have not shown me anything other than a 3% raise, then it could be time to start looking elsewhere. And if you have questions on how to negotiate, how to do research, or if you're thinking of doing industry pivots and what are some of those things to consider, let me know in the comment section below. I'm happy to provide you guidance in terms of what I've experienced as I made the pivot and as I've jumped from company to company. Again, this is John. I appreciate you all tuning in. Until next time, peace.